Now to more of our exclusive sit-down with Ozzy Osbourne. In our first hour, he revealed he is adjusting to life with a form of Parkinson's.
3 months I was in absolute diabolical agony. We thought everybody thought I was going to die, To be honest with you, the way I felt, death would have been about.
Now to more of our exclusive sit-down with Ozzy Osbourne. In our first hour, he revealed he is adjusting to life with a form of Parkinson's disease. For 3 months, he said, I was in absolute diabolical agony. Everyone thought I was going to die. To be honest, the way I felt, death would have been a welcome gift. Ozzy Osbourne might be a rock legend, but behind the fame and wild headlines is a life filled with pain. Despite having money, fame, and millions of fans screaming his name, he also endured things no one should ever face. From growing up in a poor and tough neighborhood to battling addiction for most of his adult life, Ozzy's journey has been anything but smooth. He lost close friends, faced serious health scares, and even frightened himself with his own behavior. His story isn't just about music, it's about survival, trauma, and the haunting shadows that followed him. Join us as we look deep into the sad and heartbreaking journey of Ozzy Osbourne, starting from the very beginning. Born on December 3, 1948, in Marston Green, Ozzy Osbourne grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Aston, Birmingham. Life wasn't easy for his family. They lived in a small 2-bedroom house at 14 Lodge Road, crowded with Ozzy, his 3 older sisters Jean, Iris, and Gillian, his 2 younger brothers Paul and Tony, and their parents. They didn't have an indoor toilet, just a bucket to pee in at the end of the bed. His mother, Lillian, worked in a factory while his father, Jack, did night shifts as a toolmaker. Money was always tight, and despite their efforts, life was tough. As a child, Ozzy struggled with learning difficulties, including dyslexia, which made school extremely hard. He was often mocked for his heavy Birmingham accent, and other kids bullied him constantly. Yet, he had a creative spark and enjoyed acting in school plays like The Mikado and HMS Pinafore. But outside of school, life was painful. At just 11 years old, Ozzy experienced a trauma that haunted him forever. 2 bullies from school would wait for him on his way home and physically assault him. One of the first attacks even happened in front of his sister. Too terrified to tell his parents, he carried that pain silently. Later, he admitted it completely effed me up. As a result, Ozzy always encouraged his children to talk about their problems, not to bottle them up as he did. Unfortunately, things only got darker as Ozzy grew up. School became unbearable. He was bullied relentlessly, and instead of support, teachers punished him. In his book Ordinary People, Our Story, he wrote, "Tired of being called names and getting beat up, I was around 12 when I eventually started skipping school regularly." Home life wasn't a refuge either. By age 14, he had already started drinking and using drugs, alcohol, marijuana, even prescription pills, anything to numb the storm in his mind. He later wrote, "My head was filled with these insanely dark, depressing, muddled thoughts I couldn't explain." One night, those thoughts overwhelmed him. Feeling like he was drowning in the ocean of his emotions, he tried to take his own life. He was only 14. Thankfully, his father came home just in time and saved him. That moment could have been his end, but life had more in store for Ozzy. Even so, the trauma didn't disappear. "I wasn't drinking for pleasure," he later said. "I was self-medicating. We call it Dutch courage." He never returned to school and instead began searching for ways to survive. At 15, Ozzy left school for good and took up whatever jobs he could find. He labored at construction sites, tried plumbing, worked at a car factory tuning horns, and even found himself in a slaughterhouse. But none of these jobs gave him peace or direction. Then, at 17, things took a sharp turn. He tried to rob a clothes shop, was caught, and fined. When he couldn't pay, and his father refused to help in hopes of teaching him a lesson, Ozzy was sent to Winston Green Prison for 6 weeks. Prison was cold, harsh, and filled with grown men and hardened criminals. Still just a teenager, Ozzy was suddenly immersed in a system that didn't care about his pain. It was a wake-up call. Those long, empty days behind bars showed him the kind of life he didn't want. Even in that darkness, he clung to one thing, a dream inspired by the Beatles. That dream flickered like a small light in the chaos of his life. Ozzy became a star in the late 1960s as the lead singer of Black Sabbath. Formed in 1968, the band became a cornerstone of heavy metal with landmark albums like Paranoid, Master of Reality, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Their dark, powerful sound thrilled fans. But behind the scenes, things were falling apart. By the late 1970s, Black Sabbath was struggling. Albums like Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die received poor reviews. Drug and alcohol problems plagued all members, but Ozzy's situation was the worst. He was using more heavily, drinking constantly, and skipping band duties. Even as opening act Van Halen began to overshadow Sabbath, Ozzy drifted further away. In 1979, the band made a painful decision. They fired him. Ozzy later said, "I was wasted out of my mind," and admitted the others used too, but he felt betrayed. Still, being kicked out wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a whole new chapter. After being fired, many thought Ozzy's career was over. But in 1980, he released Blizzard of Oz, a wildly successful solo album. He followed it with another hit, and by 1982, Ozzy had rebuilt his reputation. A big part of this comeback was guitarist Randy Rhoads, a young, immensely talented musician with a unique style. The two formed a strong bond and created an electrifying new sound. Ozzy felt hope again. But tragedy soon struck. In 1982, while on tour in Florida, Randy Rhoads died in a plane crash. The pilot, their bus driver with no valid license, was recklessly flying low over the tour bus when he clipped it and crashed. The plane exploded. Randy was just 25. Ozzy woke to the sound of the crash and ran outside to see the wreckage burning. "In a way," he said, "I'm still standing on that field staring at the burning crash site." That loss broke him. Years later, Ozzy revealed how deeply Randy's death wounded him. In a 2011 interview with The Guardian, he said, "It took me a very long time to get over his death. I'm on a low dose of antidepressants even now." Randy had reignited his purpose, and losing him dimmed that spark. Recording music became difficult. Ozzy told Rolling Stone, "I was kind of emotionally wounded after Randy died. It took me until No More Tears to get back on track." The pain didn't leave. And it wasn't the only struggle. For decades, Ozzy battled severe addiction. He's been open about it in interviews and in his book I Am Ozzy. Cocaine, heroin, marijuana, sleeping pills, glue, cough syrup, often mixed with alcohol, the list of substances seemed endless. He later discovered he had rare genes that affected how his body processed drugs, which might explain how he survived what should have killed him many times. Heavy use of substances marked Ozzy Osbourne's early years, but strangely, one of the strongest effects came from caffeine, not the harder drugs. Still, even Ozzy couldn't maintain that chaotic lifestyle forever. He's been in recovery since 2006 and has openly expressed regret over those lost years, which were filled with blackouts and mistakes. Although he knows the damage can't be undone, he's made efforts to move forward. When the stage lights dimmed, Ozzy's performances were known for their wild energy. Fans loved the chaos and volume, but sometimes things went too far. In 1986, during a concert in Long Beach, California, tragedy struck. A fan named John Loftus collapsed during the show, likely due to an overdose. He fell backward, hit his head, broke his neck, and died. Police later ruled the death accidental, but it rocked the concert scene. That night saw further injuries, at least 3 serious ones, and several arrests. Authorities noted it wasn't unusual for heavy metal shows to spiral out of control, especially when led by Ozzy, the so-called Prince of Darkness. Yet for him, it was another harsh reminder that his world wasn't just music, it was also about risk, pain, and public loss. Despite his fame, awards, and millions of records sold, the darkness in his life never really left him. Behind the scenes, Ozzy's personal life mirrored the turmoil on stage. His first marriage to Thelma Riley, whom he wed in 1971, was filled with conflict. In his book I Am Ozzy, he admitted, "I put that woman through hell. I should have never married her. She didn't deserve it." He lived like a married bachelor, often away from home, constantly drinking, abusing drugs, and cheating. He even recalled one night in California when, right after speaking to Thelma on the phone, he slept with 3 different women. His discovery of cocaine only made his behavior worse. Ozzy says his treatment of Thelma is one of his deepest regrets, and he carries a heavy shame about it. But the turmoil didn't end there. In 1989, during his marriage to Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy reached a terrifying low. Under the influence of drugs and alcohol, he attempted to kill her. As detailed in the documentary biography, The 9 Lives of Ozzy Osbourne, he approached Sharon and said she had to die, then tried to strangle her. Luckily, someone else was present and stopped the attack. The police were called, and Ozzy was arrested. He woke up in a jail cell, disoriented, surrounded by filth, and with no memory of what he'd done. An officer told him, "You tried to murder your wife." Sharon later revealed in a 2004 Reuters interview that if she'd had a gun that night, she would have used it. They separated temporarily, and Ozzy went to rehab. Though they reconciled, the memory of that night never faded. Cheating, shame, and regret continued to haunt Ozzy, even during his long marriage to Sharon. She once said she knew of at least 6 women he had cheated with: fans, massage therapists, and even household staff. In a 2022 interview on The Big Interview with Dan Rather, Sharon recalled discovering one affair when Ozzy mistakenly sent her an email intended for another woman. Devastated, she resorted to giving him sleeping pills to extract the truth while he was vulnerable. He confessed, and though he promised to end the affair, Sharon found out 6 months later that it was still ongoing. More women came to light, and Ozzy was finally forced to admit he had a serious problem. He later sought treatment, and although they stayed together, the marriage remained rocky. In a 2018 episode of The Talk, Sharon revealed that intimacy had become a sensitive issue. Ozzy, then 69, still desired closeness, while Sharon, 65, longed for peace. Despite the tension, they chose to keep going, through pain, fights, and shattered trust. In 2003, Ozzy nearly lost his life in a quad bike accident. It happened on December 8 on his estate, where he lost control of the bike, flipped it, and it landed on him. Already on prescription medication, the injuries were severe: a broken collarbone, a cracked vertebra in his neck, and 8 fractured ribs. Some broken bones even pressed against vital blood vessels, making the accident life-threatening. Ozzy later said, "I died twice." His bodyguard Sam Ruston saved him multiple times before emergency services arrived. Ozzy spent 8 days in a coma and required metal rods to stabilize his body. He was lucky to survive, let alone avoid paralysis. Meanwhile, his family faced their own battles. Sharon was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2002, a painful and public journey. Ozzy later admitted to Classic Rock magazine that he feared she wouldn't survive. Sharon also struggled with body image issues and bulimia. Their children were suffering too. Kelly Osbourne began using drugs at 13, and Sharon once had her committed to a mental institution for 3 days in an attempt to scare her straight. Jack Osbourne became addicted to painkillers at 17 and entered treatment. Thankfully, both eventually got clean, but the toll on the family was immense. Not all of Ozzy's children embraced the spotlight. His kids from his first marriage, Louis and Jessica, were largely absent from the Osbournes' reality show. Louis made a brief appearance but stayed mostly out of public life. He attempted a career in music but never reached his father's success. In 2013, he and his wife went bankrupt following a property crash. Meanwhile, Amy Osbourne, the eldest daughter of Ozzy and Sharon, chose an entirely different path. At 19, when the show began, she refused to participate and moved out to avoid the cameras. Sharon admitted the decision hurt her deeply, but Amy stood firm. In an interview with The Independent, Amy said the family had many fights over it. She also battled depression and remained out of the limelight for years. Eventually, she returned to music and acting but remained distanced from the fame and even from her siblings, Kelly and Jack. Despite outward appearances, the Osbourne family bore deep, often invisible wounds. For decades, Ozzy Osbourne seemed nearly indestructible, a rock icon who defied the odds. But in January 2020, the world learned that even the Prince of Darkness was vulnerable. On Good Morning America, Ozzy revealed he had been diagnosed with a form of Parkinson's disease called PRKN2. This came after months of cancelled tour dates and swirling health rumors. Fans feared the worst, and Ozzy finally opened up, describing the announcement as a weight lifted. He said 2019 had been one of the worst years of his life. He suffered a severe fall and battled infections and complications. Despite the diagnosis, Ozzy was determined to fight. Sharon assured fans it wasn't a death sentence. It affected his nervous system and caused fluctuations in his physical state. Some days were good, others very bad. Ozzy's message was clear: he wasn't giving up. Yet, The fall in 2019 turned out to be more devastating than fans realized. While walking to the bathroom, Ozzy tripped and fell face-first, dislodging the metal pins in his neck from the 2003 accident. He told the Daily Mail he saw a big white flash and thought, "You've finally done it now." He feared he was paralyzed, and the pain that followed was excruciating. "The pain is constant," he said. "The first 6 months the sentence continues in your original document." The rock legend who had survived decades of turmoil, addiction, and near-death experiences was now battling the limits of his own body, proving once again that his story is as tragic as it is legendary. "I was in agony," Ozzy Osbourne said when asked to rate his pain on a scale of 1 to 10. But he didn't say 10, he said 55. The rock legend endured several spine surgeries, and the recovery process was slow and miserable. For 6 long months, he woke up every morning unable to move. It was a miserable existence, as he described. These health problems, added to the ones he was already facing, completely changed his life. Eventually, they forced him to make one of the hardest decisions of his career, stepping away from the stage. On February 1, 2023, Ozzy made an emotional announcement. He officially retired from touring. After years of battling through pain and illness, he told fans, "This is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to share with my loyal fans." Despite undergoing numerous medical treatments to repair his spine, it wasn't enough. The physical toll of traveling and performing was simply too much. His fall in 2019 had aggravated old injuries from a 2003 accident, making things worse. Still, Ozzy wasn't ready to say goodbye to performing entirely. "My team is currently coming up with ideas for where I will be able to perform without having to travel from city to city and country to country," he said, a small ray of hope for fans. But the struggles didn't end there. In 2023, he was set to headline the Power Trip Music Festival in California alongside Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and Iron Maiden. It would have been his first live show in 5 years. Sadly, he had to cancel just months before the event. "My body is telling me that I'm just not ready yet," Ozzy admitted, "and I'm much too proud to have the first show I do in nearly 5 years be half-assed." Judas Priest stepped in as his replacement, and though fans were disappointed, many understood. Meanwhile, the internet stirred more chaos. A YouTube video falsely claimed that Ozzy had died, even listing November 18, 2024, as the date. Ozzy discovered it himself and joked about it on the Osbournes podcast, "I put it on and I died," quoting Monty Python with a laugh. "I'm not really dead, just a little flesh wound." But it wasn't the only rumor. Frail-looking photos of him circulated online, leading to ongoing gossip. His son Jack had enough, firing back, "He's F******** ing fine. These people are F******* ing liars. Stop writing fake news." Ozzy ended that podcast episode with a defiant message, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to do more gigs before I'm finished anyway." Even as Ozzy fought to stay strong, danger wasn't far from his family. He and Sharon had long planned to return home to England after decades in Los Angeles. "I don't want to die in America," Ozzy said. "I'm English. I want to be back." But those plans kept getting delayed, usually because of his health. Sharon shared on the Osbournes podcast in July 2024, "Every time we're set to go, something happens with Ozzy's health. Still," she added with hope, "we want to go back so bad, but we'll get there, won't we, Ozzy?" Meanwhile, their eldest daughter Amy had a terrifying experience in 2022. While working in a recording studio, a fire broke out. She and her producer managed to escape, but one person didn't. Sharon shared the heartbreaking news on Instagram, calling Amy and her producer the lucky two that made it out alive. It was a brutal reminder of how quickly life can change. Ozzy continued to face his own health battles. In 2024, during a podcast, he revealed that his doctor had treated him with ketamine, a drug that triggered memories of his past addiction. "He put a tiny bit in me, but that was enough to spark me. That feeling, it waited in my brain," Ozzy said. Fans grew concerned that this could lead to a relapse. Doctors warned that using ketamine for pain was risky for someone like Ozzy, despite his very real daily pain from neck and back surgeries. Tragedy struck again in 2022 when Ozzy lost someone he'd only just begun to admire, Taylor Hawkins, drummer of the Foo Fighters. Taylor had played on Ozzy's 2022 album Patient No. 9, and Ozzy praised him as a phenomenal drummer. Though they hadn't known each other well, Ozzy had become a quick fan. Hawkins' sudden death deeply saddened him. Then, in August 2024, Ozzy's heart broke once more with the loss of his beloved dog, Rocky. The Pomeranian had been by his side for 15 years. "I'll see you on the other side, my friend," Ozzy posted on Instagram. Sharon added, "We lost an OG and Ozzy's partner in crime." His 2019 fall didn't just cause pain, it changed everything. He underwent another spine surgery, but the second operation went horribly wrong. "The second surgery went drastically wrong and virtually left me crippled," he told Rolling Stone. A rod was placed in his spine, and doctors discovered a tumor in one of his bones. Though the tumor was removed, Ozzy's balance was never the same. "What hurt most was being kept from the stage. It's been like saying farewell to the best relationship of my life," he confessed. He was angry, at his body, the doctors, even the world. But in time, he came to accept that he might never perform the same way again. Then, in early 2025, Sharon shared even more devastating news. Ozzy could no longer walk. His Parkinson's disease had worsened, affecting his legs. "It's not something you can stabilize," she explained. Ozzy confirmed it himself on his SiriusXM show, but added with perspective, "For all of my complaining, I'm still alive." Now, Ozzy is preparing for what may truly be his final bow. On July 5, 2025, he is scheduled to reunite with the original Black Sabbath lineup for one last live performance at Villa Park in Birmingham, England. The concert, titled Back to the Beginning, marks their first reunion in 20 years, and Ozzy's farewell to the stage. Through pain, loss, and setbacks, Ozzy Osbourne has kept pushing forward, living proof that even a broken body can house an unbreakable spirit. What's the one thing you'll always remember about Ozzy Osbourne's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.